What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review. We are counting down today the top 10 orchestral themes in cinema. And yes, this is my list. It's not your list, so this is obviously my opinion on what the top 10 orchestral themes are. But of course, you can always leave your opinion in the comment box below. But for the rules of this list, they must be done by a symphony. It must be kind of classical music. So some themes that I also consider high on my list are probably not going to be here. It's like the Terminator theme or like the theme from Tron, which are more electronic, or something like Pulp Fiction, which is more pop music. So there's not going to be a lot of pop music themes in here. Again, these are orchestral music themes. And again, since I'm an 80s kid, there's going to be a lot of 80s stuff in here because the early 80s had a lot of killer orchestral movie themes. Before we get into the list, though, of course, this being YouTube, I always ask you guys to help out the channel a little bit and help other people discover this video by hitting the like button. And while you're down there, you might as well subscribe to the channel so you know when I have more lists like this on the channel. Of course, if you want to see a more fleshed out version of this video, I do have it available on my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/RasslinRantin, RasslinRantin, where you can get the full version of this video. This is going to be a condensed version, obviously, because I don't want to get copyright strikes. So, or try to minimize them as much as possible when you're doing a list like this. So again, here they are, my top 10, in no particular order, orchestral movie themes of all time. And we're going to start off with one of my favorite film trilogies of all time, and that is Lord of the Rings, the main theme from Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings trilogy eclipsed for me, again, this is personal, obviously my opinion, it eclipsed for me Star Wars as being the quintessential movie trilogy or movie series, which has since been surpassed by other ones. There are a few themes from that time period in the early 2000s that were iconic. Now, you did have some. You had the Harry Potter themes, which were iconic. You had the Matrix themes that were iconic. But the Lord of the Rings theme really transported you, as that whole trilogy transported you to another place in time and really immersed you in that world of Middle Earth. So that's why it is on the list. Next up, I'm going way back to my childhood, being a very, very small child and having cable. And anytime this theme came on, I just got giddy. And even many, many years later, an old friend of mine, when a remake of this film franchise came out and they used the original John Williams theme, we were just excited just to see it on the big screen again. And that is the theme from Superman, the original 1978 theme that carried on through the first 4 movies, including the very terrible Quest for Peace sequel, but was brought up again with Superman Returns in the mid-2000s, the Brandon Roth version of Superman. I kind of somewhat want them to bring it back in the DCEU because that soundtrack is as synonymous for many of us, especially people my age, with Superman as anything else. It is a rousing thing, and it does something that you'll see in some of these other themes later on. It has a march theme, it has an action theme, and then it has a low point where there's a little bit of a romantic theme in it too, to symbolize the relationship between Lois Lane and Clark Kent. It is one of the best themes from out of the early 80s. Number 8, we're going to fast forward about 10 years to 1990, and Danny Elfman's version of Batman, from the 90 version of Batman, starring Jack Nicholson as the Joker, of course, and Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne / Batman. This one was a different kind of theme, and and Danny Elfman's music always has its own little tinge to it. This Batman theme definitely did. The Batman movie also combined pop music from Prince as well, and again, at some point in time, I'll probably get to a pop music soundtrack version of the best cinematics theme tracks of all time, but this one in particular, Batman, again, another one of those themes, as soon as you hear it, you're like, Batman. Next on the list is a very, very new theme, that I have grown to love in the last 2 years since this movie came out, and that is the Avengers theme, which originally, when the first Avengers movie came out, it was iconic, but really, I'm going to say the Endgame end credits theme, and there's a little bit of cheating here because it kind of ties into that amazingly well done end credits montage that they did at the end of Endgame, which really summarized 11 years and 22 movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this very great montage that they had. But the music is great, and it gets to that rousing ending as they go through all the cast and characters throughout the entire franchise. But then you get to the big six when they get to Hawkeye, Black Widow, Hulk, Thor, Captain America, and the recently departed Iron Man. It is still rousing. I watched that thing. I've probably watched that end credit scene about 10 times so far. And I probably, when I go back and watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe again in a year or two, I'll probably get as choked up by it as I did the first time I saw it. Going back to the 80s, we've got Indiana Jones, the Indiana Jones theme. You were not an 80s kid if you were not going around with your hula hoop pretending it was a whip and putting on a hat and running through the woods and avoiding boulders and making up stuff and making up little treasures and archives that you were hunting for in the woods as a kid, and not hum the Indiana Jones theme song. Again, it's another one of these rousing anthems, and it captures the entire spirit of Indiana Jones in the films, and that's what good soundtracks do, especially orchestral themes like this. It captures the spirit of what you're watching, and that definitely was done. Again, John Williams, who's responsible for so much enjoyment for so many people, for so many generations of watching films, especially big blockbusters like this. Indiana Jones theme, you can't go wrong with it. On to something a little darker here, the Exorcist theme. I didn't watch The Exorcist was one of those movies that I had always heard about, and until I think I was 32 by the time I finally watched The Exorcist. It was one of those movies that you always heard about. I knew the theme before I ever watched the movie. But the theme is iconic. I think it was even included in that Pure Moods CD from back in the 90s that was advertised all the time. 90s kids know what I'm talking about. But the Exorcist theme, it's not really creepy. It's kind of more uplifting and spiritual in a certain way. But when it's put into context as the backdrop to this very crazy, scary, well, at the time, scary movie. That movie is not anywhere near as scary today as it was back in the 70s. But put in the context of what The Exorcist meant at the time, it's a hauntingly chilling soundtrack that really kind of, if you think about the film, and again, in the context of the late 70s, it does give you goosebumps. And once again, into my childhood, early to mid 80s, Back to the Future. Oh, Marty, Doc, and that dan 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 dan. You just it again, another one of those things that for kids of the 80s, you got on your bike and you pretended you were in a DeLorean going down the street and and you would just hum that music in your head as you were trying to get to 88 miles per hour at 1.21, whatever the hell it was, gigawatts, to go travel back in time. Again, it's another one of those soundtracks, like everyone on this list, that as soon as you hear it, and that's kind of the criteria for the list, you know exactly what you're thinking, and immediately all the images from the film flash in your head every time you hear that dan 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 dan. It's good stuff, man. A more somber one here is The Godfather, which is a movie I have still, people are going to kill me, I have still not watched The Godfather, or The Godfather 2, or The Godfather 3. It is on the list of movies. You know, we all have these movies that when you tell people you haven't seen them, they're like, what? You've never seen that? I've never seen any of the Godfather movies. I am going to watch them probably sometime this year. Again, much like the Exorcist theme for me, I have known the theme, obviously, way before I've actually watched the movie, and I have a feeling that after I finally get around to watching the Godfather films, this theme will be more impactful to me, but it is an iconic theme that I remember throughout my entire life of hearing and identifying, even having not seen the movie, with The Godfather. So it's definitely on the list. Now, if you really want to talk about themes that really, really speak to me, the Rocky theme. The original Rocky theme, which I think is only in the first 3 movies. I think they also included it in the Rocky Balboa, or a remix of it in the Rocky Balboa one. They remixed it a lot throughout time and throughout the different iterations of the movie, but that original Rocky theme, which has been used in so many things and lampooned so many times, people who've never, much like for me in The Godfather, people who have never watched the Rocky movie, millennials and Generation Z people who have never watched the Rocky movie, as soon as they hear the theme, they know that, oh, that's that Rocky movie thing. Much like the movies are kind of an encapsulation of the era that they were in, the different remixes of the Rocky's theme song through the different decades are kind of an encapsulation of what those decades represented. Even right back to the original one from the 70s, that definitely has a definite 70s tinge to it, all the way up to the remix and the latest and the last, I guess, Rocky Balboa movie. It still has a little bit of that, that little tinge to it that is, oh, that's the 2000s, that's the 90s, that's the 80s, that's the 70s. And how can I do a list of best orchestral theme music from cinema of all time without talking about something from Star Wars? Now, I'm cheating here a little bit because this list could have easily had 4 or 5 Star Wars themes on it. I'm only going to pick one, and while the main theme is definitely legendary and iconic, and the Duel of Fates from the Phantom Menace, which is one of 2 things that are good about that whole movie, which was the lightsaber fight with Darth Maul at the end against Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. And the other thing was the Duel of Fates theme that happened during that fight. The one from Star Wars that I'm including on this list, because I only want to have one per movie, is the Imperial March. Because the Imperial March, anytime there's something about that when you hear that dun 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 dun, you just stand up at attention. You want to go fight somebody. You want to go blow some stuff up. You want to, even though they can't shoot for crap, you want to be a stormtrooper for some reason when you hear the Imperial March. Or probably more likely, you want to be Darth Vader leading the stormtroopers going on the Hoth about to kick somebody's butt. Even in the new Star Wars films, when you hear the Imperial March, something in you just goes, oh boy, some stuff's about to happen. And that's what that theme song always meant, especially for me as an 80s kids growing up and watching the original films. The Imperial March is one of the most iconic cinematic orchestral themes of all time. Try saying that 5 times real fast. It is fantastic. It is on my list. It could be number 1 on my list of favorite orchestral themes of all time. But again, this is only my list of 10 of the best orchestral themes from cinema of all time. I want to know what you guys think. Are you more into the Danny Elfman kind of stuff? Do you like the catalog of John Williams? Are you more of an Alvin Silvestri person, or do you like some less classical music kind of themes, like stuff from Tron and Terminator and RoboCop and so on and so forth, which I will have a list about that at some point in time too. But until then, I want to hear what you guys think about that. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time again, always remember to hit that like button and share this video on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or wherever you talk about movies and your enjoyment of really, really good movie themes that make you act silly in your car when they come on, and you want to make sure that nobody's watching you while you're listening to the Imperial March and you're doing this. So until next time, I will see you guys for more countdowns here on the Rantin Review. Have a good day.